In a high-income, very developed city like Hong Kong, it's the vision of women. They do have more pressure than ever.
A society where women outnumber men by a lot. This has fast become Hong Kong's reality. What are the causes of this disparity and what are the consequences of the local gender imbalance? Women in Hong Kong outnumber men by more than 500,000. The sex ratio, that's the amount of males per 1,000 females, is seriously skewed for the 7.3 million population.
We have an imbalance of the number of men and women, but we still have about 60,000 births each year. And then we still have more boys than girls among the newborn.
What's significant is that men outnumber women until their early 20s. But it then turns around. Why?
Firstly, Hong Kong is an aging population, and women live longer than men, so there are more older women. And secondly, we have a large population of migrant domestic workers, again, most of whom are women. And finally, in the fertility and marriage age categories, there are more women than men who come to Hong Kong from the mainland on the one-way permit. So cross-boundary marriage is the third reason why there are more women than men in Hong Kong.
The 320,000 odd female domestic workers ultimately return home, and they often don't integrate. But the aging population is a concern.
Ladies tend to live longer than men. So in our center, same as the elderly home, maybe only 15% are male.
If Hong Kongers stay childless, as is more and more the case, the strain to care for the elderly men and women falls to the government.
You can imagine when there is a substantial proportion of the elderly, they are single, they have no partners and no children. If anything goes wrong, who's going to pick up the tab?
At the same time, society is undergoing its own changes.
It is the changing of the family formation aspiration among the women in Hong Kong.
I enjoy freedom, yeah. I never want to get married. I'm really focusing on my career.
In Chinese culture, maybe girls are better if they're opinionless. And local guys, when they're pursuing a girl in a relationship, they want the educated factor, but at the same time, they want you to be very gentle. Hong Kong girls, they want to have their own, career and to really realize something.
What Celia talks about is what scientists say leads to a so-called marriage squeeze.
Women, they always like to marry up. But because of their own improvement in educational standard, financial ability, they are at the top of the world already. There's no man marriage up. There's nobody there.
At the moment, 1 out of every 4 Hong Kong men marry women from the Chinese mainland, who then move to Hong Kong.
From the statistics, we can see that the sex rate has been declining in past decades because most of the immigrants to Hong Kong are mainland women.
Local women like Angela and Celia are left with a smaller pool to choose from.
It's always reported in the media, and there has been a lot of popular culture which emphasizes the fact that, Hong Kong women, there's too many of you, and men have more choices. So it creates a sort of a pressure and tension for young women.
They do have more pressure in trying to be career successful and at the same time to be able to form their own family.
Both the single stigma and the reality of combining career and family puts pressure on local women. These days, 20% of Hong Kong women stay single in their lives, but so do 1 out of 5 men in town. Some say marriage is going out of fashion. Others say it's hard to find time and create the right situation to date.
We do not have enough personal space for our dating life. We usually go to shopping malls or We go for coffee, we stay with our family until we get very old. So when we get to 30s.
Girls say they experience fierce competition in the dating market.
We know that we have to be very competitive so as to secure a man. Maybe we have to do some laser to make us hairless. We have to do a lot of makeup so as to be more attractive.
The high density of singles, estimated at 2 million, has made Hong Kong an interesting market for luxury matchmakers and dating apps.
The value of the boys in the market just escalates up to the age of their 50 years old. But girls are very different. Their value of the love market depreciates quickly once after 30, 35 years old.
This only aggravates Hong Kong's gender imbalance.
The supply of the boys in the market is really insufficient.
This leads to crucial questions. How does a society fix its gender imbalance? Does it need to? What happens if it doesn't?
If people don't marry, don't find enough people to marry and reproduce, how are you going to sustain a society, right?
It is this fear that causes a modern developed society to pressure women with traditional ideas and into marrying and reproducing.
The sex ratio will continue to decline. We projected after 50 years, in the mid-2066, the sex ratio will become 800. So every 5 women, we have only 4 men.
I believe that we still live in quite a patriarchal society. And when there are some social problems like fertility or the demographic time bomb, people tend to blame women because it's women who can reproduce. People blame women, you're too picky, you're too this, you're too that.
The government, for its part, has introduced policies and initiatives to deal with the ongoing demographic challenges. For new arrivals from the Chinese mainland, it has put integration support services in place. And in recent years, it has pushed for childcare and other family-friendly measures to better help working women.
I always loved to be a nurse or even a policewoman. But in my age, that time, because of the tax, that it's better that I don't work. Otherwise, we have to pay a lot of tax. My husband said it's not worth it, so I never worked after I got married.
I think more support should be given for the women and ensure them they do not have to make a choice.
The real danger for a gender imbalanced, unwed and childless population will be its inability to sustain itself and care for its aged. But a change in attitude towards women's aspirations may be the remedy Hong Kong needs.
I always tell my students that if you want values and beliefs to change, you have to think about 2 generations at least. You yourself have to change, and then you have to teach your children to change.